Welcome, guys, to my Golden Bachelor Season 1, Episode 9 finale and After the Rose recap. Welcome back, guys. It's been, what, 2 weeks since we've been here?
Yes, yes.
2 weeks. And we are back to recap this finale. I will say that I probably like this finale just a little bit better than Charity's finale, but I think it's the way that Jesse hosted the finale. I think they gave him perfect hosting like staging for this finale.
Mhm.
Whereas Charity's finale, they basically used to prop up the Golden Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise, which I didn't appreciate. So. But welcome to my co-host for today. As always, Miss TJ, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I like the finale and After the Rose, and I'm really happy for them.
Oh my gosh, I was crying for them. I thought it was beautiful personally. And Chantel, how are you doing?
Doing pretty well. I'm really happy that this season has come to an end. Like I wish that we didn't have that break. I know it was Thanksgiving, but like you could have planned it a little bit better. It would have
Mhm.
been nice to not have that break and then have this episode. Like I would have liked to see it all the way through. But I think that this journey has been really great. I think it shows that people over the age of 60 are still interesting and engaging people, and their stories deserve to be told, and their love stories are still as valid. And some of the themes in this episode and other episodes as well as like the women feeling like they're not even seen anymore as
Mhm.
beautiful, sexual, lovable human beings after they reach a certain age or have certain life experiences. So it's really nice to see that that is been debunked here. That is untrue. That people are really feeling great about watching the season for the
Mhm.
most part. There's obviously some things that we're going to be talking about that happened in this final episode. Some of it it's going to be on production, some of it I would say it's on Gary, some of it's going
Mhm.
to be on the bachelorettes, but all in all, I'm really happy that they finally brought this franchise to a new level, and I'm hoping that it will continue. So
I
overall, pretty good.
agree, and again, it's shown in the ratings. If you did not watch our BIP recap, I said that the Golden Bachelor finale was the most watched finale in the last 3 years of the Bachelor series, and so people have been invested. I know, like I said before, I know people who do not watch reality TV, who do not watch Bachelor Nation, who do not watch other romantic um, shows, and they couldn't get enough of this show. And they wanted to follow the journey and they wanted to watch these people fall in love and hopeful for the end. And so it shows in the ratings. And again, I say cast older people. And I
It
don't mean just older people, I mean from 30 up.
Yes.
please. Insofar as like my captain yesterday, so basically we like because it's a long duty day, we have one set of pilots fly us down, and then they just come home with us while we pick up another set of pilots to fly us home. And so the pilots that flew us down there is like one of the captains, my friend, and he brought up to me, he's like, "Have you been watching The Golden Bachelor?" And he's like 62, and like we started joking of like, "Do you want me to nominate you to be the Golden Bachelor?"
Is
And he's
he
like, "No, no, no, no,
single?
no." Yeah, he's single. And so it's just like,
Oh.
it was just very funny that he was talking about the Golden Bachelor, my captain, like,
Ooh,
who
yes.
probably does not watch reality TV whatsoever. He has grown children, probably has grandchildren, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like,
Right.
he fully has heard about this show, and he doesn't want to do it, but I'm like, but if I nominated you, like, you'd do it, right?
Oh,
Like,
you
you
should nominate him. Just do it. Just
it
do
was
it.
it was just a really fun, cute moment that would never have happened because like we never had shows like this for
This,
people that were above the age of 25 or 40, maybe 35.
yeah, yeah,
And so
absolutely.
yeah, it was just like, it was just nice to know that. And he was like being like, "Oh, I don't know if I would be able to do like
Handle.
break up with these women the
Mhm.
way that Gary
Right.
did, and he was starting to think about like what he would be doing in this situation. That we started joking like maybe we're gonna have to have a brothel, and it's gonna be like polygamy, a polygamous The Bachelor, and it's gonna be like the Golden Edition, Sister Wives Edition. So yeah, we definitely took it too far and joked a lot about it, but it brought a new demographic to the conversation, which is what
Yes.
I loved about it.
Yes.
I absolutely love that we can have these conversations now, and it's not, I think especially for older people, it's not taboo. I think that's the best thing, because that's why we're here, right? We like having
Right.
conversations. That's why we recap these shows. And so just the fact that they're able to have these conversations outside of Bachelor Nation and reality TV is wonderful, and brings more people to watching these shows, brings more people watching our recaps. I enjoy it a
Maybe
lot.
I'll like, if there's another season, I'll be like I'll ask him to be my co-host.
That would be cute.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I like stuff like that. Like that was what, when I used to do a podcast. That's why I wanted that other, like a male. The person was a male younger than me,
Mhm.
because you kind of want that, like, what are you thinking about what we're seeing, and the things
Right.
that are
From your
happening
perspective. Right.
from your perspective. So like older, younger, like whatever, just that energy. Male especially, it's good. So yeah, we're seeing that this impact has been across the board, really well received, and they did such a good job. Now, we did see that the night before the finale, so, or the day before, some news, and I side eye it,
I
came
didn't
out
watch
in
it,
the
but
Hollywood Reporter about Gary. And I just feel like, first of all, y'all could have dropped this a week ago
mm-hmm,
during Thanksgiving, when we had nothing to do and we could discuss.
mm-hmm.
But no, y'all waited the night before the finale to me is a hatchet job, personally. And some of the information in there I just felt was like, not shocking, not
Okay,
world ending.
I didn't read the article or whatever because I was
Mhm.
just was like, of course now they're going to bash this man.
Right.
Like every
What are
single
they
one of us
saying?
have been in a relationship where we handled it poorly or
Right.
incorrectly or unkindly, or we everybody has done something that they kind of maybe regret, or they realize that they did something wrong after the fact. So
Right.
I don't know what they brought to the table, but the
Mhm,
fact that they were just trying to tarnish this man in like this moment where he was really put in a difficult position. I
mhm,
don't think that his character and the way that who he is as a person and who he is in a relationship was a match for this show. And I even said this earlier on the season. I'm like, I just don't think that Gary is the right guy to break up with all these women, because I do think that he's a kind person. And so just the
mhm.
fact that like they're coming into like taint and tarnish his image even further, like it's just annoying. But what was said?
Hi V. Ooh,
Heavy.
hold on, sorry. Ooh,
She's getting used to a Mac, ladies and
yes.
gentlemen.
So we'll
Tamika
show
has a brand new computer,
it.
people. Yeah.
So good graphics. I'm still learning how to tap and do stuff. So hi V, and V says the article that came out about Gary took the joy from the finale, for the finale away from me.
I
I
hate
hate
that.
that it came out. And this is my thing. I think that was the whole point, right? So they wanted to do that, take some joy.
Why though? Why would they want to like
Who
ruin the
who made the
finale?
article?
I was a Hollywood Reporter.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit on some of the big things that I've also not read the article in full. I'm just pointing out some things that was said. Apparently, they are like, oh well, he portrayed himself as the widow that's been widowed and
Mhm.
basically never dated before. I don't think he said he never dated.
No, he did not.
Oh,
But
because someone said that he came out and he was in like a 2-year relationship with them or something,
right.
right?
So somebody pointed out he was in a 2-year relationship with them. He basically moved in with this person a month after his wife died, moved into that lake house that we saw in the beginning. And they were together for 2 years. The person points out that he's cheap, that he I guess he was going to like a dinner with family or something, and she was supposed to go, and he said, well, you can't go looking like that. And she apparently gained 10 pounds, and she feels like he was weight shaming her, which he might have been. Who knows? I don't know. um and just that he was a terrible boyfriend to her. Other things that came out,
Oh,
apparently
he's clout chasing Teresa
Teresa. He had not owned a restaurant, but I don't think he portrayed
since
that
the
he
80s.
had owned a restaurant recently. He apparently was a restaurateur. He
In
did
the
say that,
80s.
but they're like, it was in 85. He's 77. That tracks, right?
Right,
Like
right.
he hasn't owned a restaurant since 85, and then he became a salesperson, and then since he retired he's been doing nothing but odd jobs. Hello,
He's
my parents
retired. He can do
are
that.
retired, and that is what they do. They work. They don't even have to work. They just
Then
work
you work
because
when
they
you
want
want
extra money.
to. Right. Right. You
So
do
Well,
odd
and like
jobs
also
because you don't
though,
want anything steady. You do odd jobs because you don't want anything steady. You don't want to have to map out and schedule your time all the time. You do odd jobs when maybe you want to go to Europe this summer. So I'm gonna do this odd job for a couple months and save up some money and do that. Like that's the beauty of being retired. You don't have to work all the time. Like,
right.
come on,
100%.
y'all.
Well,
That is
also
so
though,
crazy.
like, so like my best friend's husband and her opened up a restaurant a year ago. Say they run this restaurant for 5 years in total.
Yeah.
And then they decided to, sell it or whatever, get rid of the restaurant. 30 years later, they can still say that they were a
They were
restaurateur.
restaurateur. Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. How many restaurateurs that we know from Food Network or whatever that shut down all the restaurants, and they're still on Food Network, and the little title of them at the bottom of
This
the
is
screen is
restaurateur.
restaurateur, and then, oh yes, I used to own whatever Balashi whatever, and they shut it down for whatever reason because they decided to tour or whatever.
Do
They
something
became
else.
TV chefs. What?
Yeah, just because you don't do it now doesn't mean that you didn't never do it.
So that I thought that was ridiculous. Now, could he be cloud chasing after Teresa? Maybe. I
How
don't
much
know.
money does Teresa
Oh,
actually
she
have
has a
though?
lot of followers or something. She has
No,
a
no,
lot of
no.
No,
Like
followers.
no,
no,
we're
sorry, like
talking
money,
about
money, money.
money. Because
Oh.
remember, we found out she's rich. She's a stock trader.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, like I don't know. Taboo points out something. I don't remember the last time I watched the show and someone didn't come out and talk shit about a contestant desperate. I mean, and that's also fair. Like this happens routinely. I just, again, to me, the fact that it was done the night before his finale is a hatchet job. That it was in the Hollywood Reporter. Personally,
Well,
that's
and
just
also though, 90% of the time, the person that's broken up with isn't that happy about the breakup, right? And
yes,
so if they go and see that all the things that they found wrong in their relationship and this guy's portraying himself to be different, like he's going to be the hero of his own story, right?
right,
He's likely going to think that he dealt with the relationship the best way that he could in the time with all the tools that he had and the information that he had. He probably thought that he did a better job than he actually did. And she was the recipient of the breakup. And so
right,
she's going to see all the faults and flaws about how
Right.
everything was handled and all the negative things about him as a person. And then see him being like raised up and lifted by the audience and praised for how he's been
Yeah.
acting as a person. She'd be like, that's not true. That's not how he treated me.
right,
But it still could be how he's treating these women.
right.
Just because he treated
Right.
you in a way that you didn't enjoy, that you didn't like, doesn't mean that he didn't treat the other women
And
better or differently.
she got him. He got her in a certain way. You went and moved in with him a month after his wife died,
You
right?
didn't, yeah, you didn't make him go through the grieving process. He probably didn't want to be alone. He probably did not want to be alone.
And she was
And
probably
hurry up
like
and
a
rush into
rebound to a
something.
certain extent,
Right.
unfortunately. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so, are you upset about the way he treated you, or are you upset that he has not acknowledged you as a relationship? Now, Do I think it is like, I personally feel like the show and Gary tried to portray it as he's never really dated, right? Like,
Well, maybe to the point of wanting to remarry.
right. And to Gary, that might be the case. He knew he was never going to marry that girl. He was fine with her moving in. He just
Or
wanted to
maybe
be
he
with
just didn't think that like marriage or like that part of his life was something that
her.
he could do again. Like
Right,
maybe he really was just like maybe living the cad lifestyle, like
right.
first time single 50 years, like my wife has passed and like I don't think I'm gonna ever be able to fall in love with like that again. So I'm just going to be wild or whatever, you
And did
know?
I think actually the end of this show would come down to a proposal or to a marriage? Actually, no.
I
I
didn't
actually
actually
didn't
didn't
think,
know.
I didn't see that in the
Oh, I
beginning at
did.
all.
I did.
I did not think that was the point personally. I think if, I think if he had just met somebody and they went and moved in together and lived the rest of their life together, I think it would have been just as fine as a love story for the age that they're in. And I don't think the start of this season they portrayed it any other way personally.
Oh, okay. I took it as he was. I mean, that's just how I always saw it and took it. And he does come across as somebody who moves kind of fast. Like in the sense of he just kind of says like this is it, and as we see now, spoiler alert, they're moving fast and moving forward with getting married. So him just moving in, he might not want to be alone. He might be somebody who just feels like if I feel this way or I feel strongly, I just go after it and I just get to it and I just go with it. So he might be that type of person. So some people are like that.
That,
So
and I agree. I
and,
think
and
some people
she's
are
a
like
she's a grown woman. She has to take responsibility of the fact that she moved in with him knowing it had only been a month and stayed with him 2 years herself. So I
that.
mean,
Right.
come on.
Right. I
You know?
mean, and a 2 year relationship is nothing to sneeze at in any age group, right? So
Mhm.
living together, especially, and I know tons of older people who they get live-in girlfriends or boyfriends, and they stay together 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then they don't get married. They don't move forward. They just end, and
Mhm.
that's it, right? So, V is saying if the show just gave him an edit that made him more realistic, then it wouldn't be so bad. His ex is a grown woman that just feels bad for herself. But I don't know if they gave him an unrealistic edit to a
But it
certain
was a very squeaky. It was a
it was
very squeaky clean edit though.
right.
Like
Right. It
you know
was
what
a
I
squeaky
mean.
clean edit. I just don't know if it was unrealistic is what I'm saying.
And then it's just hard to see your granddaddy like that. Like, like if you think of somebody his age frame and you're watching it, you kind of forget that your grandparents were
Smart people.
people and hot and, like have relationships and stuff like that.
Right.
So, and then you're also getting this squeaky clean edit. So you view them in such high
His
regard and
daughters,
high self
listen, his
esteem.
daughters tried to break it. Like, so did you and Teresa not boots?
Right.
And he was still even with them, like, so I that's why I'm saying
Well,
I'm not
it's
sure
kind of
if
like I don't want to swear in front of my parents.
right.
I
Like
Yeah.
don't want
like
to
Leslie
like
found out that she could swear in front of him
smoke an
in
occasional
Fantasy Suite
cigarette.
because
Like like
he
Yeah.
wouldn't
So yeah.
swear in front of them, right? Like, so it's kind of like, did they give him unrealistic edit, or did they take what he gave them, right? Like, that's that's what I'm trying to say. Like, so some of this I think is the producers for editing his story, that he was this, woe is me widow from had no
no flaws. He
anything,
was perfect in every
right?
way, and that
And
yeah.
and some
Yeah.
of this is on Gary, that you're not, this is not necessarily you to the camera,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah. So let's start the episode, because we're gonna get through. There's not that much that happened except for a couple things. So
Mhm.
most of it was like the top of the hour. And so we do see Gary waiting at the altar in the beginning of the episode, and he's waiting with a golden rose. What did you guys think of the golden
So pretty.
rose?
I
I
liked it.
loved it.
I
I
loved
loved it.
this. I love that idea.
Well,
I'm
what I
so
liked
glad you
about the
brought it
golden
in.
rose is that it's something that can last. And
Yes.
Yes.
so like with the final rose, like either the boutonniere or like the actual rose that the women get, like it's gonna wilt and die actually. And
Yeah.
so regardless of what happens with the relationship, I would probably want to have a memento of like this
Yes.
moment. And so the golden rose will always hold its form and last forever. So regardless of what happens in the relationship, that rose is withstanding. So
Yeah.
I
Yes.
like it.
I loved it. So then we do see it's a live taping, live studio hosted by Jesse Palmer. He says there are Bachelor Nation, how do you
Alumni.
say,
Royalty.
Alumni
royalty
royalty.
in the house, and the only ones I noted were Charity and Danton. Zach and Katie, Tristan and Ryan are all in the studios. We did see some
Yeah.
Golden Bachelorettes in as
Isn't
well.
Kathy there? I think I saw Kathy there.
Kathy was there.
Probably April.
Susan was there.
She's
April was there. Sandra was
Yep.
there. Faith was there. Joan was there. There was a few
Helen.
of them. Some of them were sitting together. Some of them
Yeah.
were sprinkled in the audience. So they might have been there with their families or whatever. And so we do go back to the finale, and Gary is there. He got to see his kids and his grandkids for the first time. He hasn't seen them in a very long time, and he tells them who they will be meeting, Teresa and Leslie. And first up is Teresa, and they do kind of not interrogate him, but just kind of ask what they should be expecting of these two women. And he does tell them he's told both that he loves them. They have both told him that they love him, and he's all in on these two women, and they are happy with that, right? Because I think
Hmm.
they were afraid that he would not get there. Because maybe after seeing him with this other woman, that was a concern, right? That
Right.
he might not get, because that seemed to be their concern. So now they said their concern focused with meeting these two women is, if you are there with my father and he asks you to marry him, will you say yes, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And so with Teresa, she arrives looking fat. I loved Teresa's little outfit that she's wearing. She wears those hot pants really well. And but she does say she's nervous, and he says just to be herself. And so right off the bat, Gary's daughters pull Teresa, and kind of just ask her about their journey, and she just tell them, her birthday suit and the birthday cakes and all this stuff. And um I found it so hilarious that in the little box in the bottom, while he's talking to his daughters, we do see Faith crying, like bawling in the audience.
oh. I mean, Faith. I know it's heartbreaking to be invested in a relationship
Yeah.
seeing what you want for yourself on the screen. So I
Mhm.
get that. But like, I don't know, don't come.
It's been months. Yeah.
It's
Be able to let it
it's
go.
concerning to me personally. Personally, it's concerning that I don't want to say she should get over it, but it's concerning how emotionally invested she still is. Even just watching, like, because I think it was even at the point where he was saying that he was in love with these two women. These were the right, potentially, two women for him, and we're just seeing her bawl.
She's feeling sorry for herself,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
yeah, her reaction is one of the reasons why I think that Gary didn't want to move forward with her. Is it's just it's when your stability emotionally is just hanging on one person. It's a lot. It's too much emotional stress for somebody. And
Hmm.
Gary just wants somebody to live his last 25, 30 years of his life with. That's just going to
Right.
be easygoing, good time, and not like you had to protect my heart and guard my heart and make me know that I'm lovable. And like it's just a lot of pressure.
It is.
um and not to say that anybody, and this is going to be a similar conversation I have about Leslie, but it's not to say that people are not supposed to have baggage or have you know
No.
history that like they maybe affected them emotionally. Absolutely.
We all have baggage. We
Yes.
all have baggage. So we're all going to come to the table. But again,
She
there's
has to work
something
on
about
herself. I feel.
managing your own baggage, and not expecting other people to come to the table whole. That you're coming to the table unwhole, but asking people to come to the table whole.
And then to be
Right.
the one that's filling your
Yeah.
emptiness, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot to ask of somebody else, and I'm sorry, Faith, that like, your heart got broken in this way. And I'm sorry for all the past, relationships that she's been on that has not allowed her to feel whole. But she needed to
Mhm.
do a lot, in my opinion, some work on herself
Yeah.
before she was going to be ready for the relationship that I think she was hoping to have with
Yeah.
Gary.
She put a lot of ultimatums on the table to Gary, and so I think it's kind of what we were saying about Rachel before. Like if you're pushing your own narrative, or controlling your own narrative onto the person, at what point do they get to be the person in the relationship, or part of the relationship, right? And Debu is saying this about Gary's ex-girlfriend, but I think this can be true for this as well. He's just not that into you, and you at this point have to kind of resign yourself to that. So
And it's not, well, it is and it isn't. It's not to do with you as your
right,
worthiness. It's not because you're
right,
not worthy of it.
right,
It's because what you are expecting from the relationship is not what the other person wants to give or wants to be a part of.
part of.
And she needs to do a lot of work on herself
Yeah,
to be able to be in the relationship that she wanted to be in with Gary.
yeah,
And unfortunately, she hadn't put in that work, and it resulted in her not being in the relationship.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And so we do see his daughters talking to Teresa, and we do see them ITM. They love her.
Yeah,
Like,
she's great.
she's
Yeah.
great. They feel like if he was to propose to her, they would be happy. And they do ask her, if he proposed to you, what would your answer be? And she's like, absolutely yes. And so, for all the stuff that people say about Teresa's bragging about her relationship with Gary, obviously his daughters did not feel like it came off as braggy.
Oh, I
They
didn't
were
at all.
obviously okay with whatever that she had to say. They loved the fact that they had very similar stories. So in this, we know that Teresa didn't date at all. And so we do know that them just feeling comfortable with their commonalities makes me know that whatever Gary did between the time of the show and did between the time his wife died, for his daughters, none of that was a red flag for his journey on this show and
Right.
for these women. And so I do feel like they really like that Teresa would understand their memories of their mother, his love still for their mother. That that's a good thing, right? They would be okay with expressing it, because they even said, we love that, like, she understands and gets it. Like, mom was so funny, like, just like off humor, that was funny, but not like in a way that you can, just pick, oh, she's being funny, right? Just she's
Right.
just funny. And they're like,
Yeah.
we get that Teresa gets that, and they like that about her. So I really
Yeah.
liked this meeting. I think it
I
was
do
good.
too, and it's like really, it's not that common
Yeah.
that out of these 25 or whatever so women, to have one of them have a very similar story to your father,
Yes.
Exactly.
our grandfather, or potential partner. Like, it's so rare
Where?
that same time frame approximately
Yeah.
ago,
Yes.
high school sweetheart,
Yeah.
Yeah.
haven't really been with anybody since, or other than this love of your life, we'll say,
Yes.
who you started your whole life and family with. Like, having that, both being on the show together, there is a certain element of destiny that would be stepping in there. In my opinion, I'd be like, wow, it's so magical
Yeah.
that you have the
Right.
same, your story mirrors my story.
There's
Like,
something
Right.
about fate. There's something
Right.
about fate to
not
be in,
faith.
to have to have so, yeah, well, to have those commonalities and then end up in the same place at the same time with the same journey.
It's
That,
too kismet to walk away from.
yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I like the fact that he can talk about Tony and she can talk about Billy, and they both are interested in the stories, don't find offense, laugh at them,
Not jealous
talk
of the
to them.
I
relationship.
think
I
he's so
like that.
confident in it, confident that
Yeah,
in that I love you, but I love this person, and so whatever I'm bringing to you has nothing to do with this person. And I'm sorry, I just don't know if Leslie. And I said it before, I just don't know if Leslie would have been like there. I just don't. I was concerned with that, but we do say that he does talk to his daughters, and they tell him how much they loved Teresa, and they do then get to what happened in the fantasy suite. Did you guys knock boots? And he describes the fantasy suite as just a calming effect. He said for him, Teresa was always the choice, like a safe choice for him.
right.
And I said that for him, there was nothing that Teresa wasn't bringing to the table that was not like me and Teresa could do this for life, right?
Mhm.
But whatever happened in that fantasy suite, he's like, I could just be me, she could just be her. We were able to really bond in that those fantasy suites moments. And I
And didn't she
came out,
also knock his socks off?
she said that, she said, I don't know,
Yes,
she
she
said with my
did. That's
kisses.
what she said. She was like, in kisses, no, in kisses, no, ma'am. You're not talking about just kisses. No, ma'am.
Everybody on Twitter was like, what happened in that fantasy suite? Okay. I was dying. But yeah, so, and I'm going to tell you what I think happened in that suite, like later. But yeah, um, he reiterates to Teresa. They say that if she's chosen by their father, they will be very happy. He reiterates to Teresa he loves her, and they do spend an evening together. And again, it just she basically tells him, "I love you, but I need you to choose me." Now 100% in,
Mm-hmm.
1,000% no. And it was like these are perfect. Teresa always has the perfect words. She just always
Right.
knows what to say to Gary. Like, if you're not in this, don't choose me, but if you
Mm-hmm.
choose me, I'm all in this for you. If you don't choose me, I want you to be happy, go about your business and be happy. I will be happy for you, but understand, if you choose me, I'm in this, and that's it. And
Right.
I think that's what Gary needed to hear.
He had speaking Leo's language. You know, they get each
Yes,
other,
we get
guys.
each
Come
Yes.
other.
on.
Yes.
They get each other.
We get each other. So, next up is Leslie, and she comes in wearing this beautiful pale pink dress. I thought she looked lovely.
Yes,
And
she did.
the only thing, like, for me was their conversations were good, but Leslie was so emotional, guys. She just was crying off the bat. She couldn't stop crying. She was crying and crying, emotional and
She probably could
emotional.
energetically sense the fact, like I could. I wasn't even like fully invested in watching. I was like kind of doing something and listening, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Ooh boy, ooh,
There was a
like
difference in him. She could feel it.
she could feel it, and then she was also then now play like acting like I'm good with everything. Are you good
Yeah,
with everything?
yeah, yeah,
And like you can tell that she's not good with everything, and then
yeah,
he's like, "Go." I can tell she could probably tell that I'm not good with it. Like it was,
It
in
was
my opinion,
awkward.
quite
Mhm.
awkward. I could feel the breakup coming,
hmm, hmm,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
she could too. It was just a very weird dynamic I found.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
and
started off okay, and then
it
it just
started
got
off
worse.
okay, and then it was just kind of, ooh, and then for his daughters, just the amount of emotions that she was spilling out on the table, it made them uneasy. They even said, like, they're not sure if Leslie's ready for a proposal. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that, but I can see where they're going. Like, because if you are not confident in what you have with my dad, regardless of what he's putting out to you, maybe she would have said no to the proposal because she's not confident, right? They're not understanding why she's not confident. And we know it's because he's usually so very, he has to be so very, I love you, you are it, da, 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 with her. and he wasn't giving her those reassurances at this point. And so for her, that was anxiety filled.
Well, and also though, with Leslie, with the daughters feeling as though she might not be ready for a proposal, she runs away all the time. Like, and so at some point you're gonna have to look at the common denominator in all these failed relationships.
Hmm.
And not to say that how things went down, she deserved this or anything
No,
like that,
no.
but there is something that she's been doing
Yes.
repeatedly in her past relationships and potentially including this one
Yes.
that is preventing her from getting to the point where the people are choosing her.
Her. Yeah.
Whatever it is, she's doing it over and over and over
Yep.
again.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like the daughters are recognizing something that she does. Maybe it's making herself too much of the damsel in distress and
Mhm.
putting too much emphasis on that guy saving her or making her whole or choosing her. Like, it's a weight on a weight, like really caring for someone's emotions that are so unstable or unsteady. Like, it's a lot. And so I'm sure that the daughters are recognized that, being an impartial viewer here, being like, I don't know if she's actually ready for a relationship. I'm worried.
Right. Not
Right.
a proposal
Or
type of
proposal, sorry, in
relationship.
that way,
Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
yeah. Not a
Right.
proposal type
And
of relationship. No, not at
right.
all.
And then in talking to them, she's saying, "Well, I didn't think I was," and then your dad. So then I think, well, now I think maybe yeah, I am. You can't. You're not sounding sure. Nobody likes that.
That's
That
what
you're
I'm
not
saying.
sounding
There was
sure.
no confidence, and this is what we've seen from Leslie the entire season. There's the difference between her and Teresa is confidence.
Hmm.
Regardless of whatever Teresa is bringing to the table, sexuality wise or whatever, the difference between her and Teresa is confidence. Teresa
Right.
enters the room in confidence. She is sure.
Well, and
She
even when
knows.
she's unsure, she's
Yes.
still like, when
Act
she was
like she's
dealing with
sure.
Kathy, she
Yeah.
still was assured. Like,
Yes.
she wasn't,
Yes.
she didn't kind of weak,
No, she
really,
didn't slink back.
Yeah.
No. She's like, I'm sure that me and Kathy are friends, but obviously I did something, so I'm gonna fix it. Right? Confident. Confident, and we're sitting there like, I don't know if y'all are real friends, girl. But
Right. Right. Right.
And
I
like, I think that
appreciate you.
Kathy thought that she was a weaker person.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was not a good showing from Leslie, I don't feel, and it just kind of bled into her meeting his daughters, and his daughters said, just let him know that they really like her.
I
They
like her
just
too.
Yeah, they just aren't sure if she's ready
I
for a
think he's
proposal.
Yeah.
attracted to her
Yeah,
sexually. I think that he enjoys his time with her.
yeah,
But I think for what he was looking for
before,
at the end of his life,
yeah.
he doesn't know if he was going to be able to get
Mhm.
that life from her.
Her, not at all. and
Hmm.
I- and I don't know, because I do feel like she said later, like, oh, it's because I never had this, or like, and I just like, I don't know if you have to be married in order to be married, right?
What do you mean?
Like, you don't, like, I feel like she thinks it's because she's never
He's never
been
been married
married.
before? Oh,
Yes. And I don't feel
Who?
like you, Leslie,
Leslie.
She's been married twice, right?
She's never
or
been in love, or
I mean, like in a how do I say it? Not like in a, because I
emotionally
feel like,
committed way, I
yes,
guess.
like I feel like she's always been in relationships that were abusive or
Oh,
tumultuous.
okay.
Like,
Not the one
not, yes,
soulmate, like, or whatever,
right,
like the
because according to her, those relationships, and her kids, those relationships weren't good relationships,
Right.
right? So um I just don't feel like you need to find that in order to have that, right? Like, I think you can know in yourself that I can be a good wife and mother and
Right.
whatever, and do that without the, again, like that uh, just somebody telling you, yes, you're a wife and a good mother, right? Because
Okay.
listen, my ex-husband has never told me I was a good wife, but I'm gonna tell you I was a good wife. Right? So that's the difference, I feel like.
Right.
Um, and so his daughters just kind of tell him, "This is a really hard choice. We don't know what you're gonna do. you just you just gotta say how you're feeling in the moment."
Right.
And he does take Leslie out, and they do chat, and Leslie basically senses an entire change in Gary's demeanor. And at this point, he hasn't seen
That
her
thing
in
on the
like
bench was awkward. That whole
2
time
days.
on the bench, I was
Yeah.
cringing. It was very
It was like a
awkward.
totally different relationship than what we saw
Yes.
2 days
Well,
ago.
it's like, oh, I think I should be going now.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'ma
Yeah.
head out.
Okay, so it's about that time.
Yeah. And
Right.
it was
I think I
like
gotta
worse.
go.
It was like worse than what he was giving Teresa when we knew that he probably wasn't choosing Teresa because he thought
Right.
it was Leslie, but then he re-entered the conversation and
Right.
realized he might have missed out on something. So it was kind of like, oh no, it's not Leslie. Like, it's not Leslie.
It's not Leslie.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was I felt bad for Leslie, of
Yeah.
course, because like you're going to be able to tell that this isn't going well. Like it was very obvious.
Yeah.
And I do think that there was a point where Gary was choosing
Oh yes,
Leslie.
absolutely. I already
Most
told you that.
definitely. Most
It was
definitely.
a literal point up until after the horseback.
No, I was like,
Yes.
oh boy.
Yeah, I think he was choosing Leslie. I told you, when they had that rose ceremony, I said he's choosing someone. It ain't Leslie. It ain't Teresa. I did. There was nothing in my head. Now, do you guys feel? Because somebody said that they feel like Teresa has had the worst final one edit of anybody in history, and
I
I
don't
was
think
like,
so.
no.
I think that there was times where I was super thinking that it was Teresa.
Yeah.
Like
Right, in the
I was
beginning.
more so thinking it was Teresa for a lot more of the season than not.
Whenever
I would say.
Leslie. Yeah.
And so like I always thought he was attracted to Leslie, sexually attracted to her, found her funny or whatever, found her like a good time. But I always felt that he felt something deeper
Yes.
with Teresa.
Yeah.
And I always said that from their first date, like from the fact that I was like, I wonder if Kathy is sensing that there is something deep and real going on here, and she wants to go in and nip it in the bud and ruin that because like she saw something real that was going on. And like you know the way that Teresa was speaking about him and not realizing all the other people around him are going to be like maybe like offended, I think it's because she felt that she was the one from a long time. Like I do. So
I think even we had said to Miss T-Joy that it's probably going to be a Teresa or somebody else because we just felt like he had that connection. Like she seemed more his type. He had that connection up until that point, and then it was like you had the dark horses of Leslie and even not Leslie, Ellen, and then even with Leslie, I still didn't think it was Leslie. I thought it was more Faith than her.
Well, I think Faith and Leslie are very similar.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that what he was seeing in Faith that he wasn't resonating with, I think he started to see with Leslie.
Yes.
And I think that came up. And a lot of people are really coming for Gary, saying that, he really was terrible to Leslie and like how he handled it was awful and that he told her things that
how
he
he
shouldn't have
handled
told
it
her.
was wrong but not awful. I really do believe he felt that in those moments, but it was wrong.
And can we blame the format of the show?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and remember, I've been saying all along he shouldn't have been saying stuff like "you're the one,"
100%,
and all of these things. Like
100%.
I knew telling her those things was gonna make her feel like she was gonna believe him. Like, oh, Gary wouldn't lie. He's telling me I'm the one.
Right,
she's not.
But that's the point. If Gary is a real person and he's feeling those feelings at the time, right, and he doesn't know how the show is formatted. And the producers did they tell him not to say that? Did they tell him you can't do that? Right? Maybe they encouraged him to do that, right?
Or maybe like he was like, "Oh my god, I do love this person. I'm in this moment with this person. I'm not thinking about what's happening here." And then I realized, like, "Oh my gosh, I actually don't want to like in a real relationship. If they weren't on the show, he
Yeah.
probably would have spent a couple years with Leslie, and like
Yes.
they would be in
Yes.
a
Right.
relationship and they'd be
Right.
happy. But now that he has to make a decision of someone to marry, and he
Yes.
has
Right.
someone like Teresa there at the same time,
Yeah.
when he thinks about what he wants for his future, he chose Teresa in the end.
Right.
But it doesn't negate the fact that I do think he was very much interested in Leslie, but I
Yes.
just don't think that where she was emotionally was where he wanted to be emotionally for
Emotionally.
in comparison.
I agree.
Right.
V says that Gary and Leslie's dynamic was like manager firing an employee. And Dabu says how I feel. Nate had the worst edit. I feel like
It
of
was pretty bad.
anybody, and he's still getting hate to this day. Anytime he speaks about their relationship, he's not allowed. Even though she's in a happy new relationship, he's not allowed to speak what he feels is his truth, regardless of whether you guys agree with it. Because he just gave an interview on Dave Neal's
Car one.
podcast.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
I
people
didn't
are
listen
giving him.
yet because
I listened to it. It was good. You can tell he's not a fan of Bachelor Nation. He's hiding his girlfriend. He does have a girlfriend. He is hiding his girlfriend, which I get. So he says he's very protective of a relationship. Dave asked him, does he believe she's the one? Will he marry her? And he's like, I don't know. And so I think when you come off of a situation like he did, it's realistic to feel that way, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I do have to go
yes,
because I do have to work shortly. Was there anything else you want me to just have like a thought about before I?
I do want to wrap up what your thoughts are: the proposal and them getting married, and then we'll
Okay,
proceed with.
so okay, of course you guys will probably talk a little bit more about how he handled the breakup
Yes,
with Leslie. I think that it needs for the show to reformat how they take care of people's hearts,
yes,
because like
Hmm.
yes, it's a love show, yes, it's supposed to be entertaining, but I personally don't think that making somebody's heart break in this way is entertaining anymore. And I think that maybe they can get away with it with the 24-year-old because they're going to have 20 more relationships potentially down the road and they're going to be able to get over it. But if this is like someone that's had 50 or
hmm
60 relationships, or okay, whatever, that could be a lot, but like has had many relationships and then they're getting broken up in this way, like it's a little bit more unsavory as a viewer to watch. And so maybe for the Golden Bachelor they need to figure out the formatting to be different. I'm not sure, but it did bother me that she had to have her heart broken this way for our entertainment. I didn't find it entertaining. I do think that they were a great match. I really was so happy with his little misdirect because she was like, I just saw her be like,
oh,
like
oh.
really taking
Right.
it like
She
how
knew again. She
wrong.
was so confident it was her.
She's
Right.
like, like she was shocked.
Yes,
And
Right.
then he's like, because you're the one
when
that
I
I
can't
can't
live
live without. And
without.
I'm like, she's like, oh my God. Like it was a really nice,
It
like
was
it's
a
really
lovely
Yes.
moment.
cheesy, but
Yes.
like
Yeah,
really like kind
yeah.
of hokey and they're just kind of a
Yes.
little awkward. But like it was I just felt so good for her because I know how good it must have felt inside to know that what she was feeling was real,
Hmm.
that she had the misdirect to go back on and be like, oh my God, like you really scared me. You got me good. And she even says that later, like, you really got me, you really got me. And I think that they're gonna have a great time for the next, 30
Yeah.
years or
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
Yeah.
And people are saying like, oh, they're not gonna last, oh, they're not gonna last. I think they will last.
I actually think they will
I
have.
don't think that Gary needs to have the vixen. Like,
No.
like I think he needs to have someone that understands his emotional situation,
Yes.
Right.
that likes going to a diner and sharing a milkshake,
Yeah.
that will go for a walk,
Yeah.
like that can talk about their jobs and like everything that Teresa brings, I think is what Gary
Mhm.
wants. And
And
Right.
that's what he said on the stage to Leslie, to Jesse. He ultimately needed somebody who was going to be there for him in as much. And he's like, Teresa's always there for me. And that is, I think, the whole point that people were missing. He was always there for Leslie. I don't necessarily see that she was as there for him.
Like, how many times
Yeah.
did he talking about, like, I mean, would you just put your hand on my shoulder on the when I was driving? And I was like,
Yeah.
he
He,
just takes
he was
that like
able to
that
comfort
was the
him.
moment.
That
And
was
he's
the
Yeah,
like,
that was a
moment.
moment
That
for
was the
him.
moment.
Yeah.
And I want you to comment though, because we'll talk about it a little more. What was your thoughts on Leslie writing her vows, buying the blue dress?
The $60,000 dress. How much she said it cost?
60,000. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Pisces women tend to romanticize things, and they also tend to overthink things. They could create a complete narrative that may be imaginative.
Mm-hmm.
And so we saw a version of this with Claire, with how she really romanticized Dale as being this
It.
perfect relationship,
Yep.
like not recognizing any sort of areas where it wasn't working. Same with Rachel. She romanticized Tino,
You know. Mhm.
and didn't see areas where the relationship wasn't working and so I'm curious if she kind of romanticized the relationship that she was having with Gary to be something that it wasn't completely what it was. Like, yes, he did give her some reassuring things that would be confusing. I do get that. But if you fully followed your intuition and really saw what he was giving her, she
Mhm.
would have been able to see this a little bit more coming.
Yeah.
Like, just see when he was asking her, like, so, like, you really haven't asked me any of the tough questions. Like, that was a very big hint that she was being more surface level, a little bit more dreamy, a little bit more imaginative. And so I felt that, like, yes, this was sweet. If they weren't on this show and they were just dating, this would have
Mhm.
been a beautiful moment. This would have been really cute. Like, what was it, a photo album she made for them? Like,
Mhm.
it'd be lovely. But it wasn't what he needed from her to say that she was going to be someone that would be his rock,
Yes.
while he could be her rock at the same time.
Exactly.
And it was very nice, but it wasn't what he needed.
And it's
And
also not. I don't know how you could do that on the show. Not the $60,000 dress.
yeah, I wouldn't. I mean,
And I mean, the vows okay, maybe, but even then,
I'd probably have to write my vows and be like thinking that I'm the one.
yes.
I would probably have done something similarly.
Hmm.
And I don't know, like buying the dress is kind of like how Jess bought the dress, right? Like,
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's
Like,
what I was
why?
thinking. That was the whole thing I was relating when her and Blake. I was like, that's the
it's
same
just
thing.
kind of like they think that because they're doing all these things, it's going to have the right outcome without actually reading all the signs of what was actually really going
We're
on.
doing the work,
Yeah.
doing
So
the
they thought
actual
buying
work.
the dress means that you're going to get the guy.
Yes,
Not necessarily.
not actually
Right.
investing in the guy,
Yeah.
Right.
So
which
yeah,
is what happened in both cases.
put $60,000 in some, relationship therapy, healing for yourself,
Yeah,
and this might have been a different outcome, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
yes, I agree.
Okay, well,
Thank
that's all I
you.
have for
Thank
you guys. I'll see if
you.
I can hop on and listen to you guys what you're going to say, and maybe be in the
Okay,
comments if I can.
awesome. Sounds
Okay.
Okay.
good.
Okay, bye
Bye.
everybody. We'll
Bye.
see you next season if there's a season 2, or if they haven't announced a Bachelorette, Golden Bachelorette, right?
No, but they did
No.
change the casting. The casting is
Said
because
man
Kevin
or
says
woman.
simple solution. Stop casting Pisces women. I think that's why.
They
But
create
the
the drama,
casting
Dabu. They want the drama.
the
This
casting
is
did
whiny
change.
cry
Instead of
drama.
when during Women Tell All, it was asking for men, right, for Golden Bachelor men. But this time they're asking if you have any older person in your life who would want to be on
Yep.
the show,
They were
submit
like
them.
man
So
or
I
woman.
think it's potential for another. I think we're waiting for a green light for Golden Bachelor Bachelorette, and a lot of people I saw now want Leslie. I do not
No,
want Leslie.
that would be painful to
That would
watch.
be the worst decision ever.
Yeah. So
It'll end similarly to, I'd say, Rachel.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would be like, oh, he didn't choose me, like I chose them, he didn't
Yeah.
choose me, and like he didn't want to
Yep.
be with me, that's how it would happen for sure.
Yeah.
Or the person that she does choose, it'll end up
The,
a mess like
that
Tino.
wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. I just I unless she's done a lot of work on herself and not just get
She's
to
still
sit in
too
her
victimizing herself.
pissodity, like I don't see it working.
Yeah.
Either.
No.
Yeah.
All
All
right, bye. Bye, chat. We'll see you
Bye.
soon. Take care. Bye.
right.
Bye.
So yes, so back to the dates. They do have their nighttime date, and the date starts off well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then Gary does kind of end it quickly and kind of like not. I don't want to say it wasn't nice, but it was just like abrupt. And after kind of telling Leslie it ain't her, without telling her it
Her,
ain't
it's
her.
not her. Yeah, I want you to be happy. You
Yes.
remember when he looked at her and was like, I want you to be
I want
happy?
you to be happy.
That's like
And he
telling
kisses her
somebody,
on the cheek.
right? And that's like telling somebody, I'm not gonna be with you, but I want you to be happy. I'm like, Gary, did you have to say that?
I was like,
I
oh
was
my God,
like,
Gary. No, not
I was
that
like,
way.
you know, this woman knows now. I mean, you should have just broke up. If you gonna say all that, just end it right now. Like, I was like, why would he do that so she could stay up all night? And I was like, this is not good. This is not good.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, so Dabu says something that is interesting here. Leading people on is the show. Every lead does it. One week you get the one-on-one, next week you go home. And I mean, I think it's fair. That's the premise. But I do think there's a way. I do feel like people need to be a little more realistic coming into these shows. Like,
Right, right,
don't put deposits or buy $60,000 dresses.
exactly.
But um, I do feel there's also a way to protect people's hearts. Um, that yes, a heartbreak is going to always hurt, right?
Right,
Regardless of how I feel, it's still going to hurt, right? Like how I
right,
portray it, it's still going to hurt. But I do think people can maybe they want people to be destroyed coming off of this, and
and
I
I don't
don't
think
feel
that's a
like it
good
should
look.
be,
Right,
yeah, especially
right.
older
I
people.
think they
Don't
should
destroy
start
older people.
restricting them and
Yeah.
not allowing them to tell the people they love them.
But I
I
thought
think that
that
should be
wasn't
taken.
in a thing. I thought that was a thing until Gary sees it.
No, remember, like, who else said it? Like, people used to not do it, like, until like maybe like 4 years ago. Who first did
Oh,
it?
right. I think you and Chantel said Ben Higgins started it,
Yeah,
where he
yeah,
told both women or
yeah.
something that he
So
loved them, and then all of a sudden now everybody's doing it.
yeah, it used to not be a thing. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I feel like we need to get back to that because I
Right,
think that's also something that's misleading people.
right.
We're not here to micromanage what you say in the fantasy suite. That's your alone time off of the camera time. But I do think that somebody needs to go in and cancel the lead, and needs to have I do think a therapist needs to be on and having sessions with them every week. And I think somebody just needs to be telling them, like, listen, I want you to be able to say, not say certain things because you want people to be able to manage their expectations of you, and you need to manage your expectations of them. Like, I
Right.
think that needs to be a thing, just so, like you're saying, people can be so destroyed. And like Faith had already had so much with her. The
Hmm.
way she sobbed and sobbed and
Hmm.
sobbed, and then to see her again this week, still sobbing, she has been put back down into being destroyed again. Like, however she felt, however much healing, even though we don't think that she healed enough, she
Hmm.
felt she had done some healing, and whatever healing she thought she had done, she has now taken. She's backpedaled, and
True.
so that's not what we want. That's not what we
That's not
want
what we
with
want
these.
to see at all.
That's not what we
At
want.
all. No. And so I do feel like that is something, especially after this season. Let us not do that again. Let us
Right.
not no. Let us not do that again. Please. Like, please.
Mhm.
I beg of you guys,
Right.
like, do not do this to people.
Right.
Um And so we do see he kind of leaves, and he realizes after sitting on the stairs for a little bit that yeah, he's got to go back because
Right.
she knows. She
Right.
knows. She realizes because of just the way he's always been with her.
Right.
Um and so he has to go talk to her and let her know the truth. That it is not her. Which I think was the right decision,
I
right?
agree.
Because if it had gone a night, and I think it would have been actually worse.
Yeah.
Um, and so I do feel like breaking up with her the night before was actually correct. And so he does tell her he's falling in love with Teresa, and she confronts him. She's like, "Everything that you told me in the fantasy suites is a lie." And he's like, "No, at the time I did believe them. Like I did believe that we could be it. But then I things changed when I and Teresa sat down together, and I realized she was just right for me." And I think what happened in that fantasy suites with Teresa is that she just let him know how much she would be there for him for the rest of his life. That she would take care of him, that she would guide him to whatever he needed to do, that she was willing to maybe, whatever decision making he wanted to do, that she would support them, right? And I think that's what Gary needs. I know he wants to be the knight in shining armor, but I think he needed someone who was willing to be there for him as much as him being there for someone else. Like we
Yeah.
know that Gary can be there for somebody else because we saw him do it for Leslie. We saw him do it for Faith. But that doesn't mean that it should be taken advantage of and you not providing anything back to him. I've not heard ever one thing Leslie said that she would do for Gary.
She
Have
never
you?
said anything. And I think that was the thing that Gary started to think to himself, wait a minute, Teresa knows how to be a wife. Okay,
Yes.
she was a wife for 40 some years. And the only reason why she stopped being a wife is because her husband passed away, just like my
Mhm.
wife passed away. She has not been in two failed marriages thinking that she doesn't know what love, like, forever love is, and, being
And that
into
impacts
depths.
the way that she can be a partner, because that's
Exactly.
ultimately what she's saying, what she's been saying. I haven't had those experiences, but you don't have
Right.
to have those experiences to know you, to be safe and okay with you, to say I'm bringing this shit to the table, and
Right.
that's what I can do for you. What do you need?
Right.
Are we
Right.
compatible in
Right.
those ways?
Exactly. Exactly. And I think Teresa, like, she let him know, like, listen, I was a stay-at-home mom. My husband came to me and said, look, I'm paying too much out of pocket for this health insurance. I need you to do something. And she said I went and did it. And then I
Right,
became very fluent in it, and so well that I got this, high power job doing it. But I
right,
initially did it just because my husband needed me to do something to take up
exactly,
his some slack in the family, and I'm willing to do it. And so he thinking to himself right there, like, she willing to do whatever for her husband and her family. She's
right,
proven that she, in sickness and in health, to death do us part, and she'll do her part. And
right.
so he doesn't feel that from Leslie. And so I can see where he's like, this the
And
person
what
I
she's
can live without.
71, 72, Teresa, he's
Yeah, she had just turned
77.
70. She just
Yeah,
turned 70.
so he just
Yeah.
turned 70. So it's like if he's gonna in 3 years he's gonna be 80. If he like gets sick or ill or wheelchair bound or whatever, he knows that Teresa will be there handling shit,
Right.
taking care of his family, and he does not have to worry about that himself.
Exactly.
And so V says it here. Teresa, Leslie never gave Gary any reassurance, any
Never.
assurances. I don't think
Never.
we didn't see that. And V says even when Gary asked Leslie about where will we live, Leslie never gave a solid answer. Really,
She said
never
she wanted to be by, like, she was like,
bought. She bought
by
buy
state.
me. by
by state
Midwestern.
because she was like, we're on
Yeah,
the same coast, but by state
yeah,
or whatever.
by
But
Midwestern. Yep.
Teresa immediately said, "Oh, I'll move to you.
Yeah.
I'll move to you
Yes. Yeah.
because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to move with my husband. Move. You want to move? I'll move to you.
Right. The thing is, I think she would. I think she's prepared her family that would
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah.
So I just, because I think her family realizes she needs to have that in her life. And
Right.
so they will have some place to visit. I think one of her children don't live with her anyway, near her, right? So it would be only the
The
daughter.
son, yeah, the son doesn't. The son doesn't.
The son doesn't live near her. The daughter does, but the daughter, so yes, that'll be a
An
change.
adjustment.
But even
Yeah,
the grandkids know grandma's been lonely.
yeah,
So I think
yeah,
they would rather grandma have somebody and not be lonely and come visit them,
yeah.
a happy grandma and a happy mother, than to not be happy and looking
Exactly.
for that in her life. So um that is what I think Leslie's been not understanding is being brought to the table by Teresa, and
Right.
what Gary actually needed. He doesn't need you to, I hate to say this, to siphon him emotionally.
Ooh, ooh,
And I
ooh,
think that's what ultimately she would do.
ooh. Yeah. Mm.
And so, you know, all her love turns into anger because
Baby.
she was
He
like,
told him, "Don't tell her what how to
"Mm,
F and feel or so." What she say?
what?"
Don't tell me nothing.
So first he said, he tells her, after he tells her only one of them was right for her, and he says it's Teresa. She cries, and she's like, "This is happening again. I'm not being chosen." But and the fact that that's what her first go to, and I think V had said it up here.
She manifested it like she
Yes,
was manifesting it.
I feel like Leslie's "no one chooses me" line became a manifestation, but it's a manifestation because it's a work that she didn't do within herself.
Exactly.
It's a
Exactly.
manifestation because it's a work that she didn't do in herself. Because if she had done the work, she would not portray this to Gary, that she is going to siphon him emotionally, and he might have chosen her. He
Yeah.
might have.
Yeah.
And so she's like, "It's happening again. I'm not getting chosen, but this time it's on national TV. How could you do this? You lied to me." He's like, and he's like, she's like, "It's happening again." He's like, "It's not happening again. I really did mean that. I didn't mean to embarrass you. It wasn't
Right.
to embarrass you. I thought it was you, but then I realized spending that time with Teresa that it was her." That it, nothing literally changed, just she's just the right person for me. And and I don't want you to think that. And she's like, "I'm sorry, Gary, but I can think whatever the fuck I want to." And he's
Yeah. Whoop. I said, okay. Okay. And he was like, yeah, yeah. Like didn't want any of that smoke. He like, yeah, yep, yep,
yep,
you're
you're right.
right.
And so he, "You said things to me in the fantasy suite that made me think that it was going to be me." um and she just kind of confronts him, and he leaves, and she's torn up for destroying her. And Leslie does come out on stage and just tells the story that I said before about her writing vows, coming off of the fantasy suites, just knowing that it was her, and
It was her,
writing
yeah.
vows, buying dresses, which I do think is an error on her part. And Jesse asks, "Well, we're going to have Gary come in. Do you want to speak to him?" And her face and the way she said it was like, "No."
I know. Her face said no, but her mouth was like, okay.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
like,
And I was like, "Ooh, she wants to say no." So,
right. She does not
um,
want to do this.
so Gary does arrive, and I don't think his responses helped, but I think he felt uncomfortable. What did you
Yes.
think of his responses?
I think that he wanted to. I think that he wanted to appease Leslie, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
think also in his mind, he also didn't want to downplay Teresa. So
Yes.
he was trying to say, no, you're a lovely woman, and I felt this way, but he was like, but I found someone that I loved more. I found someone that I couldn't live without, that I felt suited me more. Cause it was like, I want to get up here and I want to tell you things to make you feel better, but I can't downplay my fiance because this is who I chose, you know what I mean, to be with.
Yes, because I think at this point we've seen that I think towards the end they did have to downplay Teresa just a little bit, and I think that's why people are upset and they're calling that her edit was bad. But I feel like it was Teresa was the horse running away with it up until the whole Katie thing
Yeah,
happened.
Kathy thing. Yeah,
Kathy thing, sorry. But I think it was always her, and I think I've said it multiple times.
yeah, yeah,
I feel like Teresa's the one to beat until then the Leslie thing happened. I was like, oh, well, maybe I think he's more sexually attracted to Leslie, and so I can see him choosing that in the end stages of his life. She's younger, maybe that's what he's looking for, but ultimately he's looking for somebody to take care of him as much as he's taking care of them.
there we go. Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
yeah, like I just it's it's sad because I do feel like he gave her a lot of assurances. Um it's sad, right? But I do feel like she kind of put a lot of this on herself.
Right.
And so I do see a lot of people, oh, I love the way she handled that because she really did give it to him on that
Oh,
stage.
she did. And I
She
think
did.
she needed to do that to get it out. And I support that. Get it
Yes.
all out and say whatever you have to say, and you can hold him accountable. You don't have to just be like, okay, it's okay, it's okay. No, it's not okay. And this is why it's not okay. Because he needs to learn from that. And then the
Right.
producers need to learn from that and
Right.
see that you need to put a handle on how much they say to these people. Like,
Yes. And that's why I said I think it's both on Gary and both on the producers. I think he was just feeling that at the moment, and he maybe should have pulled back just a little bit. But I also understanding I'm very much, it might be my Leo moon. I'm very much of a stating how you feel when you feel it, right? But my Taurus sun says, okay, like you can't spill it all out there, at once, right? Because you could get hurt, or somebody else could get hurt. So you gotta reel it in.
sometimes Taurus can keep things close to the chest. You know
Yes,
how y'all
and
do.
because I tell that somebody sent me a meme yesterday. Let me see, it was, and she said she's like, Taurus are so private they won't even tell you what time to get off of work. And I'm like, people just be making assumptions about me, and I'm like, I tell you what I want you to know. So if you know
Oh
things,
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know my history with Taurus, how I love
hmm
Taurus men.
hmm
They have not proven to be my soulmate because I'm not with them. But I've
hmm
told you 85% of my relationships have been with Taurus men. Like I could just smell them. Like, ugh, I
hmm
could smell them. And so I remember my ex being like, I'll be like, yeah, because you don't tell me enough and you don't ask enough questions. He like, I don't ask questions I don't want to know the answers to. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I don't ask questions I don't want to know the answers to. And you don't need to know everything about me. You just need to know I'm always there and I'm always on time and I got your back. And I'm like, ugh. But that's
hmm
how he felt. That's how they feel. They don't ask a lot of questions because they don't want you asking them a lot of questions. And they definitely don't ask questions they don't want to know answers to because they don't want to tell you all their business. They don't want you to know all the answers to them either. So it's just a thing. It's just a thing.
hmm So it's not, and it's not to be mean to people. It's just it's protective. It's in some points, but also
Yep.
like everybody don't need to know every single thing, right? Like And so I told you there's some people who think that I'm still married to my ex-husband because I didn't put an announcement out that I got a divorce or I got separated or
But
whatever. And
but
like,
Tamika, why
no,
can people not know that though? like why why should
it's
they feel
not that they don't know it. It's not that I'm not trying to tell them, but let's take two things. On my social media, I don't
uh-huh.
delete I don't delete my experiences and my history. So if you scroll scroll scroll
Oh.
scroll all the way to like back when we were married, that stuff is still on my thing because we were married, right?
Oh, okay.
um if you go to my Facebook page, it says single, right?
Okay.
If you go to his Facebook page, it says he's married to me and he's in a whole relationship with another person
Why does he change it?
because he is a Taurus.
Oh
Okay.
wow. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like he's posted photos of people and people are like, oh, is that your new boo? He's like, oh no, that's just a friend. He don't got the right birthday on there. He don't have the right he don't be having he will cloak everything.
Girl.
He used to get mad at me for posting pictures when we were like on vacation and stuff. Oh, people are gonna know that we were on vacation and try to like storm our house or something. We don't got nothing in this damn house, so I don't. But I mean,
Girl.
I don't
That's a
post
Taurus man for
pictures.
you.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
that's a
don't
Taurus
post pictures when I go on vacation, like all the time. But yeah, no, that's him. But yes, he's a Taurus guy. So yes, that's what he
man.
does.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yes, he has a whole girlfriend that I don't know. I don't know.
And Gemini men are like that too about pictures and knowing
Yes,
things because we talked about him being on the borderline. And my dad is a Gemini, and he does not like when me and my mom post where we are in the restaurant. Like he does not like that. He was like, "Can we compromise about y'all posting it when we leaving?" I don't know. He feels like he also wears shoes in the house because he don't never know when he gotta leave. Talking about you always gotta be ready and stuff. I don't know. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. Like so,
hmm
yeah, I get that.
yes,
I get
yes,
that.
yes. So yeah, so I think that's also that thing. Like, there's sometimes when you just need to like just
Really bad. Yeah,
real
really bad.
boom.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad she got that out.
Mm-hmm.
I I hope she's going through therapy. I hope
Me
Faith's
too.
going through therapy.
Me
But
too.
I just feel like I don't know if I can have her as the lead of my show.
Oh, she definitely cannot be the lead. And also, let's normalize that you can say what you need to say to somebody and you can apologize to somebody, but you have to know that not everybody's going to accept your apology. And
Yeah.
you can thank somebody for giving you an apology and not have to accept it. Like,
Yes.
people think it's rude if you don't apologize. And I'm like, if you don't mean it, don't say it. You know what I mean? I feel like you have to move on from people and get closure by yourself. I feel like closure is a scam. And you don't have to wait for somebody to apologize and think, oh, because if they don't mean it, what is the apology worth? It doesn't mean anything. And then
Right.
also, if you apologize, I don't have to accept it.
Yeah. Yep.
And you got to be okay with that. You got to say to yourself, well, I did apologize, whether he or she accepted or not. I apologize. I got that off my chest.
Right.
I meant it.
And
It was
but that's the point that people don't understand. The apology is for you. The
right.
apology is not always for the other person, and that is why you have to be okay with the other person not taking it, right?
Exactly.
Because it doesn't necessarily absolve you, right? But at least you put it out there that it's okay for them to have their feelings, and that is why you are apologizing.
Right.
Because some people will never apologize, and some people
Right.
will never feel they did anything wrong, right?
Right.
So having the apologies to acknowledge, yes, I did wrong, and to that's for me to acknowledge that I did wrong, and I
Right.
understand that if it's a real apology, right? If
Right.
it's a real apology, you then follow it up with the work to do better and never
And
do that
change
again.
behavior.
And I think
Right.
he has been intentional about be and so like what we were saying before with Teresa, I do think that they had to go back and put a little bit more in the edit to this back end, because it realized, oh, he never told her he loved her, and he's choosing her and all this stuff. And we did see a little bit of those editing things that happened with him and Teresa.
Right.
And again, I feel like also in the fantasy suites, he did tell her he loved her, and he told it to her privately. And I think
Hmm.
those moments made it a little more special for them. And I think, so just to address Debu. So Debu if says, if Leslie doesn't want to accept an apology, what the F is the point of this convo? All Gary was ever going to do was apologize. And this is true. But again, an apology is for Gary, and not necessarily for her.
Right.
And so,
And she was made to have that conversation. Let's not
and she
forget
was
that.
made, because really,
Okay.
when Jesse asked her if she wanted to see him, it did very much sound like a no.
Right.
But I also think that what V here is saying is also leading to the other issue. Is I see a lot of people upset, that with Teresa's edit, saying that they're going to break up, saying that this is not a love story. He's not in love with her. He just wants her money. Blah 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 blah. And at the end of the day, people, I think what Gary did was he built a relationship with Teresa that was special for them. That Teresa's always going to be confident that this was her love story.
Right.
And that yes, he had to go through this with these other women to still choose her.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
she was always confident that
That
it
he was
was
going
them
to.
too. And that's the point.
Yep.
Because she has always been there for Gary, always confident that it was her and Gary at the end of the day. And so I don't think it's going to harm Teresa's relationship and how she sees Gary at all.
Nope.
And that would be the only thing that would tear them apart. And so, as V is saying here, I think people can support Leslie without tearing down Gary or Teresa. It is
Yes.
unnecessary. And I agree. I agree. I don't think there's a reason. Being upset at how Gary handled Leslie's feelings, I totally get. I think that's the only criticism that he is deserved of this. But again, I also was that part of the show.
Right.
Was that part of the show? And so, yeah. Um, and so V said, "How did you feel like about the contestants, like Ellen rolling their eyes at Gary?" But it wasn't just the contestants; it was literally all these people. And Zach looked upset. Charity looked upset. All these people who have been leads who are upset, and then on top of that, there was the contestants who have been upset. I don't know if these women are necessarily as close to Teresa as they maybe were to Leslie, and that's fine. But again, I feel like it's kind of like with Love Island Games. It like at the end, it always kind of felt like it was this person, and these people are going to be salty because it was either not them or it was not the person that they would have rather it be.
Right. And I think the only time that I saw Ellen roll her eyes was when Gary mentioned Ellen. When he was on stage and he
Mm-hmm,
said that they panned to her and she was and what's her name was trying to hold her and Faith's hand, and he
mm-hmm,
was like, it was hard when I had to do it for other people, and I know that I broke their hearts too, and I let them down, and when I had to do it with Faith and I had to do it with Ellen, and then the camera pan and she kind of like roll her eyes and
mm-hmm,
or whatever, but I don't think that was, she wasn't rolling her eyes at him the whole time. I think it was
mm-hmm,
just her remembering, that aspect of it. And so, that's okay. If they found true love, two Leos, like birthdays 2 days apart, they
mm-hmm,
two peas in the pot, and they happy, then let's
mm-hmm,
just let them be happy. It's hard out here trying to find
mm-hmm,
love and trying to find your person and be
mm-hmm.
happy. I support people who find their person and they're happy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
I loved the proposal, as Chantel said. I thought it was beautiful. And Teresa comes out and she's just like in this beautiful white dress, and I actually tried on that dress in black and it looks much better on Teresa because mine is bad.
Really?
Yes, as I was going to an event last year, around this time last year, I think November, and I had to wear all black, and
Hmm.
it was horrible on me. It was the exact. After this, I'll send you the pictures. It was horrible
Okay.
on me, and I ended up sending it back, and I got it either Bloomingdale's or Macy's, but it was not flattering on me. It looked so much better on Teresa, but it was the black version, not the white version.
Okay.
But black is supposed to be slimming. It was matronly on me, and so I was
Okay.
like, "Ooh, okay, that, like, I see it on Teresa, looks good." And so, shock among shock, were you shocked about the announcement?
Of them getting married?
Yes,
I was. I
I was
was.
too. Not that they were getting married, but that they're getting married
January 4th.
January 4th
Yes. On TV.
on
Yes.
TV.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I
I was
was.
like, "Oh my God." And then, you know what, though? When they said it, it made me even happier for them.
Yeah. And it kind of makes sense, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like they feel like everybody's invested. Teresa loves that everyone's invested in their love story. You
Mhm.
know, she loves that. I think the show will pay for it. They won't be able to have
Mhm,
but so many guests, but they wouldn't want
mhm,
a whole bunch of guests anyways. There,
mhm,
this is their second marriage later in life. You know what I mean? They just
mhm,
want their kids and grandkids there, maybe some they siblings. You know what I mean? And so
mhm.
I thought to myself, it makes sense. Like after they talked about it, I was like, that makes sense. I mean,
And
and
for all those
so
people who think that Teresa's a blabbermouth, she says she did not tell her sisters, that her
I know.
grandkids kept it to themselves for all that time, but her
How
sisters
you think
didn't
her
know.
sisters feel when they found out the grandkids knew and they didn't know?
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to find that out. That was fun. I'm sure we'll hear about it at the wedding because that was hilarious. But yeah, it was. I was shocked that it was so soon, but I am so happy for them. They seem so in love. I to me, I felt like they
Yeah,
seemed so in love, and that they're just so excited for the future.
I
And
know. I
I
know.
love that. I love that that's the exclamation point to this
Exactly.
this season. Like, regardless of all the critiques and everything that happened, I feel like that's the exclamation, guys, to this season.
Exactly.
They are happy. They are both okay with the journey that they went on, because otherwise they would have never found each other, regardless of the ups and downs. And they're ready to move forward. I don't think Teresa would have moved forward to get married so soon if she felt any concerns with him.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
yeah, I was so happy for them.
And it was so funny because they were like, "How?" Jesse was like, "How have you all been dealing with, keeping a secret?" Away? She like, "We talk on the phone every night, and we talk for maybe like 2 hours, and we run through our day and stuff, and
Hmm.
so we've been doing it, and it's been great." And I just thought that, oh, that's so sweet. Like they're content with just talking on the phone every
Yes.
day. Like they haven't had, how other contestants are like, I had to secretly fly and we had to meet up at Airbnbs and
Yes.
do this and sneak. They're like, no, we just talk on the phone every day. I said,
Yes.
they're so cute. So
That's
cute.
what I'm saying. Just that type of companionship, to always know that you have somebody. Because there's some days that I wish I had somebody, even just to
Yeah.
talk to about my. I mean, I do have, but like someone
A
romantic.
romantic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to give you those, like, "Oh, I love
Yeah.
you, and I'm glad this," and I have that, like, friends that I talk to about my day and we chit
Right.
chat, but it's definitely not the same. Debu says here, at their age, Gary and Teresa ain't on IG like the 25-year-olds. What people say about them means nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Debu says it will be interesting to see what the ratings for the wedding are, considering so many fans have turned on Gary. I don't know if there. From what I saw on Twitter, I saw most people actually more upset that they edited Teresa out for so long and her being the final one than they were at anything that was going on with Gary. I think the people I follow who are staunch Bachelor Nation people who have watched the show for a very long time are excited for this wedding. So I
I'm
don't know.
excited for the wedding. I am excited for the wedding. What a
Yeah.
way to kick off the new year. Like,
Yeah.
new wife, new husband, who this? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
I'm about to get
absolutely.
married.
So we did see a little bit of a preview for Joey's season. It
Although Joey looks better with that haircut.
Oh,
He do
Joey
look better
looks
with that
cute.
haircut.
He looks better with the haircut. He looks cute and pink.
Yes,
I
doesn't he?
still nothing that they showed was interesting me. I actually was like even more like, do I don't believe you were in love with Charity, and so if this
No,
is going
and
to be
he's still
a
trying to portray that, right?
That's what I'm saying. So if that's what the season is trying to portray, that you were, because I feel like how Charity portrayed her season wasn't like I was in love with Zach and he destroyed me, and if that's
Right.
what we're going into for Joey,
I
I don't want
know.
it. They can keep it.
I know.
See, even V
But it
said it.
almost made me
Not
want to
gonna
kind of
lie.
watch it. I don't know, cause I was so like, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna watch it. But first of all, I saw him with that haircut. I'm like, oh, he over there looking cute. And then I said, well, maybe we'll. If I watch it, I'll see some substance of him because I didn't feel like I ever got any substance from him on
Mhm,
charity season, and I
mhm,
just wasn't a fan, and I
mhm.
didn't feel like he really was into her like he was portraying. So I was like, maybe. But then when I saw the preview, he like, cause being in
I had
love, you
that.
kind of. I'm
Yeah,
like, now Joey,
exactly. Yes, exactly.
but he didn't say charity though. So I'm like, you talking about being in love with somebody else, Joey? Cause I mean, I don't think it was charity. Like, what you talking about, Joey?
It better. So V said, "Not gonna lie, Joey's preview looked boring as hell." That's what I'm saying. I might read the spoilers and see who his final four are, and then decide if I'm even going to invest myself. But at this moment, I'm not invested. So I know I won't cover the season regardless, but maybe I'll chit chat about it. So you can catch me on social media to chit chat about it. But
Okay.
other than that, guys, that is going to be it for this Golden Bachelor season. I still am so happy with how the season went.
Yes, me too.
Um, and I think again, charity season this season probably the best 2 seasons of a Bachelor Nation season I've
In
had
a
in
while.
a very long time.
Yeah.
Excited for both of those couples' futures. I think they did a good job with casting and both finding people. I think that they have long term potential. Watching Dotton
Oh
follow
my goodness.
Charity and
And support
supporting
her in
her.
everything she does. I
Yes,
fall so much. I love them so much.
so
And I can
much.
tell their love is growing deeper and deeper every day. And I think that once this Dancing in Stars and the holidays is over, I think she
Mhm,
really gonna start concentrating on their wedding because I think she does want to get married sooner
mhm.
rather than later too.
Yeah, they've
So
already lived together. Their families have gotten to know each other more. I really think that the fact that they've been able to just live together for these amount of months, right? So it's
right,
almost like what 4 or 5 months,
right,
and they seem to just be able to really get each other anytime
mhm,
they're out and about. You could just see that they really get each other.
right.
Um, and so I'm so happy to watch them, and I'm gonna be so happy to watch this wedding because I think Teresa and Gary are two people who get each other.
Yes. And I'm voting for her on Dancing with the Stars too. I vote
Yes. Oh my
every
God.
week.
Please vote for Charity. Please. It is a popularity contest. I love how
Right.
Charity dances. There's some people who hate it, but I
I
love it.
loved it.
I
She's
think
always
she
in
is
the top three.
overall growth and dance ability for somebody who has not had any
Right.
dance experience. I think she is the best one there personally. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a popularity contest at the end of the day, but if you can make sure Tuesday finale of Dancing with the
Yes.
Stars, you go vote for Charity. I will be
Vote for
voting.
charity because they trying to
Yeah.
give it to that Sochi girl. Sochi.
No, I think they want to give it to Ariana. If Sochi won, I would be happy because I think she's the best dancer there, all around dancer there. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
but
she's really good.
yeah,
She's young, but she's good. Yeah.
yeah. To me, it's Sochi, Jason, Charity. Ariana. Nothing Ariana does makes me feel, but I'm in the minority. It sounds like so.
I mean, this past week Jason came back, but Charity had been. It was Sochi and Charity like going back and forth like
Yes,
for a while. Jason was kind of like he had kind of dropped down. I mean, this week he had. I mean, well, last week technically now he had a
Daniela is
comeback.
amazing. She's amazing. I loved when her and Iman won. She's just such a good teacher. She really is.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so Dabu says I'm not gonna watch for the women. They're gonna be on BIP next year. Exactly. So I don't need to watch those either. But
Yes.
yes, so guys, make sure you vote for Charity and Miss TJ. Tell them where they can find you and what you're up to.
They can find me at Miss T Joy on all social media platforms. I'm, just been doing this with you and Golden Bachelor with you and Chantel, and I'm just catching up on shows. I'm trying to catch up on Traders so I can listen to your review tomorrow and be ready for that. And Traders Canada, that is. And just watching all these shows, working and trying to get into holiday spirit. I've enjoyed covering this with you all, and I thank you all so much for like being on this ride with us. Y'all are so faithful, and we love
Yes,
it.
we love
We
all of
love
you
it.
out there. Thank you for joining us on two different platforms, Reality
Yes.
Realness, Chantel's platform and my platform, Entertainment Account. Thank you guys as always. And as always, you can follow me here on YouTube. Also, everywhere else, Entertainment in Color. And guys, I'm going to be live tweeting at 8 Christmas with a Kiss. It is Christmas holiday season, so this is my movie season. This is pretty much what
Yes.
I'm focused on. I will try to usually I do like a list of all the movies out with people of color. I try to do that. I haven't been able to do that. Sorry guys, I've started a new job in the last couple months and it's taken over my life, which is good because I'm making some money. Not a lot.
Girl, I know that's right.
So I can't complain. And then also I should be back at 6:30 with Janelle Michaud to cover the last few episodes of Traders Canada, ahead of tomorrow night's finale of Traders Canada, and then we will be back to discuss the finale sometime this week. And that's pretty much all I'm covering. I do want to do Twin Love for from Amazon Prime. I did watch all the episodes. It was really good. So I'll figure out how I'm going to cover that. I think I'm going to do it in 3 parts. So I just have to figure out how I'm going to stage that. But that's pretty much what I'm up to. Thank you guys as always for joining us, and we will see you on the next coverage of